this panel, we have someone who has over 30 years of experience in media planning, direct marketing, CRM, and customer loyalty and engagement across organizations like Ogilvy, Ogilvy One, Cartesian Consulting, and Strategic Caravan. Please welcome the managing partner, Strategic Caravan International Private Limited. Put your hands together for Miss Mala Raj. Well, welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kesha.
It's going to be exciting as we welcome all our panelists to join us on screen. So our very first panelist has more than 25 years of diverse and well-rounded experience in the financial services sector. He has held several senior leadership positions. We welcome President and COO, Kotak Mahindra General Insurance Company Limited. Please put your hands together for Mr. Ishwara Natarajan. And welcome, sir. Thank you very much for your presence on our panel today. We're looking forward to your sharing. And as you put your camera on, we welcome our next panelist, who is customer experience leader with 20 years of diverse experience across sectors in a variety of functions, including marketing, executive office, business planning, amongst many others. Please welcome Head CRM Red Bus, Mr. Satish Krishnan joins us. Welcome. Thank you for your presence. We now have with us someone who helps companies keep their customers, an award-winning speaker. He works with organizations around the world. His first 100 days methodology fuels the remarkable experiences his clients deliver. We welcome professional speaker and writer on all things customer experience. Please put your hands together, Mr. Joey Coleman. Thank you for joining us. We now have our next panelist who currently leads SR's food business, Fresh Green Private Limited, starting with brand Indus Fresh, and is in the process of building many more. Please put your hands together for CEO, Fresh Greens Private Limited, Mr. Saikat Sarkar.
Hi everyone. Hi Kesha. Hi Bala.
Wonderful to have you here, sir. And finally, to make sure that our panel is complete, we now welcome someone who has a proven track record for leading high growth with entrepreneurial bent of mind and successful in shaping winning brands and pricing strategies. Please welcome EVP and COO Domino's Jubilant Foodworks Limited, Mr. Raj Kohli. Our panels here. Welcome, sir. And we now hand over to our moderator.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Hello.
Ishwar, I think you need to put your camera on. Yeah. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I was requested this morning actually to step in and moderate this session. Since this morning, I've kind of been going through the whole thread of conversation and structuring my thoughts around this topic, right? I'm really happy to welcome all of you to this session. I'd like to keep it with a lot of interaction, a lot of discussions, and let's make it rich with your shared experiences. Yeah. Just to set the context, over the last 2 days, we've been having a lot of sessions on customer experience and how it's evolving. And almost all the sessions have touched upon this great elephant in the room, right? We are bang in the middle of COVID and how that has affected customer experience and how it's affected, how brands are dealing with it, right? And today, yes, we are seeing some light. There's the vaccine. We know there's some hope, but in no way are we at the end of this whole road ahead. Yeah, there's still some distance to travel. But today in March, I look back at, let's say 12 months ago, and from personal experience, I'm looking at the kind of consumption myself, my family had, the brands that we consumed, what happened last March and what's happening today. And, if you look at, let's say 10 to 12 months ago, it was, the peak, COVID had hit us. It was not so much about the brand. It was about, what am I getting? Am I getting stuff or not? right? It was about availability, accessibility, not so much about the experience, right? But today we are a year later. We are seeing the light ahead. Many brands are coming back to what everybody seems to be calling the new normal, right? Which leads us to our topic today, which is really customer experience post COVID. What changes and what doesn't? Yeah. And with this, I'd like to kind of kick off the discussion. And I'm going to start off with Satish, actually. And Satish, from your perspective, what has it been like, as a consumer for the past 12 months? What has changed? What are the things that are short term? And, what would be the long term changes that you have seen?
Hey, thanks, Mala. Thanks for the entire panelists for taking out time. Good to share the thoughts in this valuable forum. I think over the last, let's say, 8 to 12 months, I think I see myself as a customer. I think while you call it as new normal, I think consciously we have made efforts to move towards what is, let's say, what you call as a safety zone, right? Anything while you did mention about looking for availability first. But over a period of time, over the last, let's say, 6 to 8 months, there has been a preference in terms of customers, right? They're moving towards largely online from offline, right? Anything that you have to do. To just put it in a very short perspective, you typically, use the terminology roti, kapada, makan, right? Just for the benefit to just translate, roti is food, makan is, let's say, house and shelter largely, and kapda is fashion. I think in each of the tenets, I think things have changed significantly. And I think one more I would like to add to that is connectivity, right? In addition to that, the way in which we connect with people both across the professional roles that we do as well as across in our personal lives have significantly changed, right? So I would put it, let's say, in any of these tenets that you look at, right? I think our eating behaviors have changed. And typically you travel, your food habits are different, but you stay at home, there is a different way in which your entire cycle has changed. Or the clothes that you wear, I'm sure there has been a greater demand for people to buy, let's say, fashion, which is more where you're staying at home versus going outside. Especially on the shelter part of it, I think people have started redesigning their houses into support a hybrid model of working from home versus office versus largely looking more as home as a more utilitarian, right? And when you look at connectivity, I think many things have changed, right? We look for a very, internet has become so powerful, right? You need 2 or 3 stable connectivity to work most of the time. You need new devices which can make it, you need monitors to work from home to run through presentations, which was not the case, right? So I think from a customer perspective, if I switch off, I think there have been considerable changes over the way that I individually would have interacted, while some are more temporary, but a significant proportion of it is quite long-term, right? In terms of those are not very temporary needs. And there are permanent shifts happening in the minds of the customer. So that is how I would like to put it as a customer, what changes do I see?
Thank you, Satish. That's actually a very nice summary of what's happened over the last 12 months. And I'm sure all of us, recognize the fact that our homes have actually become mini office spaces, and how we've kind of conditioned. I know where I'm sitting right now to, have this session, right? Moving on, I'm going to now bring in Saikat. I want to know, have brands actually delivered? Yeah, in this whole pandemic situation, where have they won? Where have they fallen short? Yeah, who are the winners? Who are the losers? Any thoughts that you would like to share?
Sure, Mala. Thanks, and thanks everyone. So I think as far as brands are concerned, I mean, I coming from a food background for a long time, so main focus for myself has been in the food space for quite a considerable period of time now. And there are a lot of other panelists also, I think, would share my thoughts, especially Raj is there. So I think overall, the brands has been, they have become more agile. There is no doubt about it. I think agility, what needed to come in overall food supply chain, which is part of overall supply chain, which was the most critical part during this COVID period. Even post that, the phase is still probably continuing. I think that has come. So the organizations have become much more agile, and that reflected in the delivery what the companies or the brands they created for the customers. The customers got something what they have not been able to get all this time. I think what, as a customer also, and as someone who has been associated with the brands, I think one part which has come as a core is the care. There has been a lot of care. Care is a new currency. We talk about safety, but I think more than safety, what comes to the forefront is care. I think somewhere, if I look at my mother as one of the customers, I think along with she becoming much more, mobile friendly, adapting new technology and stuff like that. I think care is something uh, which that segment have started expecting from the brands around. I think that's expectation what got created. I think brands have been successfully able to deliver that, at least in Indian context. um, I'm sure Raj is there in the food delivery channels. I think at every bit of a segment, the safety part became part of the forefront. They spoke so very loudly about it, and I mean, there has been a lot of honesty. I mean, I think that's what even the customers look forward to. They want their brand to be absolutely honest what they are doing. I think there has been enough instances where the companies and the brands, they have been able to establish the fact that they have been honest with their brand, with their delivery, their supply chain, with the customers. I think the customers have also become much more confident during this period. They have shifted more towards the branded part than the unbranded part. A huge amount of grocery business is still running on the unbranded part, but I think major shift has happened from the unbranded to the branded part. I think I can safely say that the delivery so far has been extremely good, and which was critical. And I think be it the FMCG brands or the food delivery brands, I think they have come out as winners for me.
Thank you, Saikat. Yeah, I'm going to come very soon to Raj on the, given that you mentioned him a couple of times on the food. But before that, I'd like Joey actually to step in. Joey, what changes in, you have a lot of experience dealing across brands. So what changes have you seen in customer behavior? And, specifically over these last 12 months, and what do brands need to do to manage this customer experience?
I appreciate the question, Mala. I have the pleasure of working with organizations, small, medium, and large around the world. So I've been able to see how this is kind of being approached in different contexts, both in terms of whether you're a product or a service business, an online or predominantly offline business, international or domestic. And what I think we've actually seen is an acceleration of trends that were already existing in the marketplace, that have gone from it would be nice if the brand I did business with had this type of behavior, to it is required that the brand I do business with have this type of behavior. I like to think of it as the changing faces of the customer, where FACES is an acronym that refers to 5 key elements that I believe every customer is looking for in their interactions. The F stands for familiarity. I think we are expecting a heightened level of personalization and customization in every interaction we have. If there was one good thing about social media, and there are plenty of not good things about social media, it's that they have a tendency to put the information in front of us, put the stories in front of us, put the comments in front of us that are designed to be exactly what we want to see, to elicit an emotional reaction, and to take every customer on a different journey or a different path by tapping into what feels most personalized to them. The A of this model is anticipation. I think more and more brands are expected to anticipate what their consumers want before the consumer even asks for it. I personally had this experience a few years ago when I bought Ray Dalio's book, Principles, which was a very fantastic book, on Amazon. And when I purchased the book on Amazon, they recommended that I might also like Tony Robbins' book, Unshakable. This is not a surprise because Tony and Ray are personal friends. They blurbed the covers of each other's books. They also recommended a book called The Four by Professor Scott Galloway from New York University, another fantastic book, very much in alignment with these. But lastly, they recommended an avocado slicer, a tool used to slice avocados. Prior to this, I had thought a knife was all you needed or a spoon to properly eat an avocado. But Amazon shared that I might be missing an avocado slicer. And guess what, Mala? They were right. I have been missing this tool in my life. And when I ordered one, I've now ordered 3 avocado slicers, 1 for myself, 2 as gifts. I love the avocado slicer. Amazon anticipated what I wanted and needed before I even asked for it. Next, convenience, which I know has been a topic throughout the entire Customer Fest 2021 event. You know, this idea that we are making it easy, making it seamless, whether that's contactless delivery or the ability to do things online or on mobile. Even my 75-year-old parents, who prior to COVID had never ordered groceries online, now only get their groceries delivered online. And I don't think we'll go back to the grocery store again, even once it's safe to do so. The E in this model is experience, which again, with this crowd, I know better than to do any explanation or description of why experience is important. But I will say this, the competition now is not the other brands in your industry. The competition is the best experience customers have ever had. Tesla, Netflix, Disney, their favorite bespoke brand. This is who your customers are comparing you to. And last but not least, similarity. Our customers are increasingly spending dollars with brands that are similar in values to them. They want brands that have similar standings on environmental issues, on public health issues, on diversity inclusion issues. We are voting with our dollars to make sure that every dollar we spend is with an organization that looks and feels like us. So I think the changing faces of the customer that were happening before COVID have only been accelerated and exacerbated, and that will continue.
Thank you, Joey. And thank you for the acronym. I'm sure all of us are going to remember that and going to use it in time to come. Yeah. FACES is a good way to go. I'm now going to come to Raj. So Raj, from the industry that you operate in, yeah, so QSR, can you give us a view of how did you rethink or redesign the experiences for your customers? Did you reimagine any of your products and services?
Thank you, Mala, and lovely to be part of this panel. Already learning. So I come from a part where, what Satish mentioned, the roti. We have the loaded roti in a way called pizza, the round roti in a way, and Saikat mentioned in terms of delivery. So I think none of us are, had a playbook or were trained in a B schools to manage such crisis, But however, I would say that, at Domino's, where I work with 1,300 plus restaurants that I run in India, I think we prepared a little ahead of the impending crisis. 3 weeks even before the government made this first move, we were able to reach out to our China counterparts, US, and it was scary. It was scary when we realized the way things could go. And at that time in India, we just had 3 cases of COVID. But as it was incumbent of us as leaders to, come up with new safety protocols, industry first, as in, everybody mandatory employed temperature taking, mask and gloves. We ordered PPEs worth 8 crores in the first week of March. And let me tell you, everybody in the industry at that time reached out to me and said, are you going overboard? Why do you need your employees to wear masks? I stay in Delhi. You can't go out today wearing a mask because you'll be fined 2,000. But just an year back, exactly a year back in March, same week, to think through this, I think we were a little thinking ahead. We were able to train around 29,000 of our employees across the country in 48 hours upon the new protocols. But being ready and said that, I think the biggest insight was the consumers. When we went across and we realized that the consumers really feared, they don't want any delivery people coming and handing over any food product to them. And that's where, we thought of zero contact delivery, as they called contactless delivery then. And we were the first ones in the country to coin it, and then we launched it even on the 17th of March, way ahead of its time. Wherein the delivery boy, we had a paperback, we used to just hand over, pizzas in the hand, but we said, hold on, consumer doesn't really want you at the door. So we could actually leave it to the reception or the security, or we'll leave it at your door, and the guy would move back 6 feet back, and wearing PPEs and gloves at that point of time. Clearly, I mean that really helped. But I think when the COVID happened and when the lockdown happened, I think 3 things happened for us as an industry. We were hit the hardest. The closure of restaurants, retail outlets. Clearly, we had a choice. We could keep this. I was given a choice. You can keep it closed as well. I mean, when you're managing 30,000 plus people, you got to really think through that. We are actually serving one part, as Satish mentioned, the roti. And nobody decides whether biryani is better than a pizza or roti dal chawal. It's still a food product as food product. So we took a bold step of open stores. We were able to open 490 odd stores in April, around 1,000 by May end itself. The overall lockdown, the second challenge was, it meant crores of rupees of food wastage. Think through about it. And the minute we were able to open the store, the very next day, we got permissions, we went in and we just made pizzas and gave it away. We gave it to poor people, whoever needed it. And that's it. I mean, why would you let the food go waste, right? I mean, that's very simply said, but that was little ahead. And our teams felt really good. They said, you know what, we're doing something good about this entire thing. They were scared. It was not easy to come to a store. There were lathi charge, everything being done. I think third, it was customers who were reaching out. Suddenly there were many customers, students, working professionals, singers who couldn't cook, and saying, listen, we don't have any options of food. And secondly, when the national lockdown happened, the essentials, all supplies became really difficult across. The neighborhood Karyana shops, as you mentioned, were closed. Joey mentioned as well, maybe they'll go back there or not. There was no big basket delivery. There was no Amazon delivery. And I had 20,000 riders. I thought it's the time to just, can we just pivot the model? And we reached out and partnered with ITC, Amul and Tata. And we started the range of essentials called Domino's Essentials and started serving atta, dal, chawal, milk. It's not our core business, I can tell you. I know I'm in the food business, but that's not the core purpose. But that's what we did. We went around to 600 plus stores, 63 cities. And as the DNA of the company is 30 minutes or delivery, we were actually delivering in 1 hour. And people were really shocked that how come you're delivering, atta, dal, chawal. So I think one interesting thing happened is when we were able to convince our team that you are not just delivering pizzas, but you are food soldiers. Now you will go and deliver other things. That's when the team just really responded and rallied behind it. So for me, learning, I would say, is that agility as we think, but to redesign and at times to think through what business you are in. We realized we were not in the business of making pizzas, we're in a delivery business. That's a big realization that comes to us. The customer, whatever they want, something we need to reach to them. Just put that learning there and sharing with all of you guys.
Thank you. That's simply amazing, actually, what your story of Domino's, and it just goes to show how important it is for every brand to kind of seamlessly associate with a larger cause when the need arises, right? And that kind of endears you in the heart of the customers all that much more. Yeah. So quite amazing to hear about that. And while we've been doing this conversation, all of us have been talking about this whole rush to digital, old parents suddenly moving to digital, ordering for the first time. So Ishwar, I'd like to bring you in here and, just to comment on that. We've seen this huge rush to digital and, what are the broader implications and ramifications of that for brands?
So one of the key implications is earlier, digital ecosystem was a good to have thing, but now it is a must have thing. So if you're not having a digital ecosystem which can scale up your sales, you're dead. So COVID really taught a lot of business leaders the importance of digital ecosystems. So one of the key learning is if you're not in digital ecosystem, then you're not going to be scalable, then you're not going to become big. So, that's the main learning. The secondary learning is when everything gets digital, a lot of, sources become less personal. So insurance is an industry where you need a lot of human touch. Okay. But here, suddenly everything has become digital. There are no human interactions and things like that. So branding happens when a lot of, personal touches there, when a lot of good services happen. So, that led to some amount of confusion about what needs to be done. The third one is, our sales shot up big time in the first 6 months because there was a lot of fear on health. There was a lot of fear on, COVID. So we realized that fear as a strong emotion to sell has been one of the key outcomes of this COVID experience. Earlier, if you see any advertisements on, health insurance, you'll see 4 members of a family smiling at you and, more of peace of mind propositions. Nobody ever used fear as a selling point, for insurance. So, so this fear worked, well for us. So it's not a negative, emotion. Fear as a friend is a positive emotion, and it was used well to sell much more, health insurance. Health insurance, which is the need of the hour at that time. So, in my opinion, these 3 are the key learnings.
Yeah, a valid point. Thanks, Ishwar. So there will always be this endless debate when it comes to insurance as to whether fear should be used or hope and smiling faces should be used, and I'm sure each has their own place at the right time. Yeah. Satish, if I can bring you in again, brands have struggled to connect with consumers at this point in time. Any comments on how they would use data and analytics to facilitate this? And I would like Raj also to come in on this after you, on the same point, on the use of data and analytics to facilitate the connection with brands.
Yeah, thanks, Mala. I think one of the things which I could give as example from the industry that we work, right? We are one of the largest aggregators of the transport, business people, mobility. Post this start of the pandemic, I think for about 4 or 5 months, completely the mobility business was down. So one of the challenges for us is how one is the what does, let's say, what are the things that we need to do as an organization to build up the demand, and second is where do these come from, right? People don't express explicitly in terms of this is what they travel. So one of the things that we used when businesses were opening is something called as pre-registrations, right? So we started who comes to the Redbus app or any of our mobile websites or any of the thing, we started picking up the need of the customer from where he would like to travel, which are the places which we typically used to travel. Although, let's say the things were not opening up, right? I think if you look at the sequence of things, north of the country typically opened up first, like states like Rajasthan, Delhi, UP. South was the last. East was quite later, like Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu had higher number of cases sometime in September and October. They were the last to open. So what we thought is, while there are customers who come to know, who wanted to travel, obviously you don't have travel across all places, but it is good to know where they would like to travel. So it was a simple, let's say, a functionality which we kept in the app to pick up where they would like to travel and how fast that they would like to travel, in the sense how early that they have to travel and what is the purpose. Like there could be somebody who is stranded, possibly then you can look at organizing some kind of, let's say, one-off services, or people who are wanting to move to work. Initially, all people migrated from the states that they used to work or cities to their original places. So this gave us a lot of insights about which are the most preferred routes. Where are the people wanting to travel? How frequent? Which helped us to go back to the entire ecosystem of bus operators. We operate with about 2,500 bus operators across the country, including about 25 of the government-owned, what you call as road transport corporations. So we were able to, let's say, build these insights to them to say where you need to start the service, where could possibly, let's say, people come, where people want to move. So that is something that we largely looked at in terms of as from a data analytics perspective. Second, we used to conduct from our own customers some kind of a sentiment survey, which largely captured the essence of what walks of life, what age are they, and what, let's say, for example, people over a period of time, I think post October and November, people started moving out, what you call as the revenge travel, right? People wanted to move out. So we started picking up the lead from customers in terms of where they would like to travel and how, what is the size of the family that they would to travel, what are the places that, is it mountains, beaches, or those kind of queries. So with this, we built around our product and offerings which could really help to suit in terms of the customer's experience, right? Possibly there are routes which we have never explored, right? Trains were one of the biggest shutdown which they happened, and with about 50-60% of the service is resumed. You don't have a trained service which connects the length and breadth of the country. So largely, we were then able to pick out where people want to travel. How can we launch a new service in that particular route, or possibly in terms of a service? We went back to them, asked them, let's say, if you would be able to travel immediately, or in a week's time, in a month's time, and so on. So that's how we were able to understand the demand of customers, although we're not fully operational, there are restrictions outside. Those are some things which we picked it up as it is, in terms of, let's say, as the things happen versus having to, let's say, go back. And we, as I think Raj mentioned, there is no data to it, or there's no playbook how things could come up, right? So those are some of interesting, let's say, data points that we could build to create our product and service, and that has helped to build the demand over a period of time.
Thank you, Satish. It just goes to show every brand has been doing its bit to kind of serve the customer and show the care that we talked about. Raj, if you want to add to that.
Thanks. One is, Satish, you and I need to connect. I can pick up a lot of learnings from you. That's one. I think Ishwar just mentioned, if you don't have your own digital eco space, you're dead. I never thought these lines, but it's right. We do have a Domino's app. We have a very strong PW, and we really dialed that up. I mean, we really dialed that up, our app download during this time. Interesting one. I mean, imagine in a meeting room when you're debating and your revenues are falling down, and I was pushing that we need to increase our digital marketing spends rather than TV. We need to get back to advertising, and we should never take our pedal off. It's not easy to get through that board on that one, but I would say that data helps you in all that analytics, and we could see that more and more people who didn't have an app were downloading, and how we can get people to download more apps. I think interesting learnings which I picked up, when we look at our sales analysis, a typical, like from FMCG, you look at tier-wise sales, and you will see, Bangalore city is not doing well, and Mumbai is not doing well, Gurgaon is not picking up, and we just kept more advertising there. But we realized the power of data. We look at customer cohorts, as in where they are, and we have their number tracking. So the phone number is the key, and we look at that. And we were able to see when did he order last and where is he ordering next from. And we all talk about this migration. It didn't come intuitively as we saw that the second order that this guy is placing is from his native place in a tier 2 or 3. Therefore, we saw the tier 3, 4 is where it was just booming. And therefore, we diverted our efforts on advertising and any promotions on tier 2, 3 versus all spends on, always the metros. And that's a learning, you have sometimes data. That's an interesting one. The other one I would say is, in our own app, we always had dine-in and take-up delivery. Dine-in was locked on closed for a lot of time. And when we went to consumers, we said they had this fear, and we heard this word of fear. Again, I don't want to go back. I like the product. I want a product. I don't want to step into the restaurant again. It's not safe. While you might have all protocols, everything. And therefore, we carved out takeaway, which was very big in US, but never in India. I mean, there's no culture. We have few drive-throughs, but there's no takeaway. And that's on our own app. First, we came up with takeaway. And now we've also launched drive and pick. Now, drive and pick is that you can come and ride into your car. You can place your order in advance. We'll go and deliver to your car. So, we created 1,300 drive-throughs through, reaching out to your car by not really creating a real estate. And the insight through that, again, was 2 years back when we started delivering on Indian Railways. I don't know whether you know that. Domino's, we kind of have picked that challenge up. And we said, we will deliver. You just need to put in your PNR number and say where you want which pizza, and we'll deliver it to your seat. And that's what I told the team. If you could deliver it on the train, why can't we go across the road and deliver in the car? And that's what the concept is. So it's really inside. I'm a slave of data. I always say you beat data, our data, it just starts talking to you, and it just gives you so much. It's incredible. So happy to be in that space.
Okay, so that's music to all our ears, I'm sure. Slave of data. All of us are in some way or the other. Ishwar, I want to bring you in. You mentioned this whole thing of insurance being a lot of human touch required, right? But now you have to gear yourself to a world that may well be contactless, or let's say, with lesser contact. What do you think needs to be done if brands have to gear themselves?
So one is basically, all the services have to become very fast and friendly, and it has to be a very fat transaction. That's one. Second thing is, it has to be only digital. Like I said, we have no option. By 2025, about 65% of the people are going to be below 35 age, which means, all the young people would only transact digitally. So being in digital ecosystem is a must. So in the digital ecosystem, if you can have friendly transactions, and in case you need to speak to somebody, there's a nice human touch that would add a lot of value. And especially in insurance, we pay a lot of claims. 70% of our top line, gets paid as claims back to the customers. So unfortunately, we don't treat it as a customer experience thing. So if somebody's father has died, we need to pay 5 lakhs. We send them a check saying that this is the 5 lakh check for the claim number so and so. We don't write a human touch letters.
Okay, I think we've briefly lost him. Yeah. Never.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Continue.
can I continue, Mala?
Yes, please continue. Please continue, Ishwar.
Hello.
Okay, I'm going to give him a moment for his net to, kind of stabilize.
Can I continue?
Hello? Yes, you can. Okay. Joey, I'm going to come to you. Ishwar, if you can just hold on. If you can just hold on till your net stabilizes, right? I'm bringing in Joey just now.
Yeah.
So Joey, we all know that the pandemic has been completely transformative, right? Suddenly there's this whole thing of let's live frugally, let's minimize whatever we are consuming, right? What do you think are the changes that we're going to see going forward?
Well, I think, Mala, that there are 2 types of changes. There are the short-term changes that we'll see continue for maybe the next 2 to 3 years, and then there's the longer-term societal changes. When I think of the short-term changes, I'm reminded of my grandparents who grew up in the Depression in the United States. And when you went to my grandmother's home, if you looked in the cupboard, there was a coffee can, and in the coffee can, there would be some dollars that she had saved away because she remembered as a child needing the extra few little dollars. I think the modern version of this is we will see closets in homes that have toilet paper that people have stored away thinking just in case, because a lot of people, I think, were caught unaware of how the supply chains would be affected. They understood how the hospitals would be affected, but they didn't consider how the supply chains would be affected. I think we'll see more savings. I think we'll see more investment in home. We're already seeing that. What's fascinating, we went from considering our home our castle, just considering our home our cage. I think there will be a desire to get it back to the castle, and we will see more investments in the home. Last but not least, in the short term, I think we will see an over-indexing or an over-appreciation of physical touch, of actually physically interacting with the people we do business. A handshake, a hug, brushing up against someone, whatever it may be, to allow us to have that energetic exchange. In the long term, I think we need to recognize that this is the first modern global pandemic. It is not the last. Changes in transportation, changes in illness, changes in public health on a global level mean we will experience this again. So what will we see long term? I think we'll see a move to more local and regional supply chains. We'll recognize that we can't trust that we'll be able to send a plane from the other side of the world in 2 days to get all the supplies here. We'll see more local build out of infrastructure. I think we'll see resetting of definitions of what's possible. Many businesses thought there's no way our people can all work from home. And yet they have been for the last year. And now we realize that things we previously thought were impossible. I love Raj's example. if we thought it was difficult delivering to the seat on the train, what about delivering to the car in the parking lot? Those type of shifts, I think, will become part of the normal. And last but not least, we talked about this earlier, and Sakat mentioned it, this care is the new currency. We will see an over-indexing on empathy and on human care. And I think we will start to expect that from the brands we do business with, not see that as an added plus.
Absolutely. Saikat, do you want to add anything on that, especially in the area of grocery, fresh, those kind of things? What are the changes you expect in terms of consumption? Okay, I think we've lost Saikat now.
Definitely reaching to each and every home, trying to reach each and every home. So all this time we were there in a proper B2B business, where we used to supply to all the KFCs and the McDonald's, which is there in the western part of the country. So every lettuce which was coming on KFC and McDonald's platform was from us. And then we are, heavy supplier to Amazons and the Swiggies. I mean, as you know, the Swiggy has been there in grocery delivery business for some time now. They're doing exceedingly well. So name it, I mean, Flipkart or Swiggy or Amazon, everywhere we are there. At the same time, we have started, delivering it ourselves. We have built our own app, reaching to the customers directly. So it's one way what we are doing. We are absolutely in that space where everybody is getting into. Ishwar has already mentioned that we'll be dead if we don't get into digital platforms. So where we are now, and we are establishing ourselves very, very strongly in that. And all those part, what is already there, we have seen that there has been huge rise of unemployment. The on-the-go consumption has declined. Life at home has become, the nesting at home has become the in thing. The home has become the coffee shop. Which way you want to satisfy a family's need, against very, very individualistic need what it used to be. I think those are few things which is coming big in force. And as a company also, and as individual also, we are trying to fulfill all the needs, the way it is shaping up, the way the communication and information channel is changing, the learning space is hotting up. So I think integration has happened where family is in the core. We are mentioning about care there, and the needs and the wants, the gap has largely kind of abolished, and we are trying to get to a space where we fulfill our basic needs and move on from there, build up from there. So we as a company, as individual, I think every possible way we are getting connected digitally. We want to be there in business space, but more than business space, I think personal space is something where a lot of us are focusing on, which is getting reflected through our business and in the way we are conducting ourselves, in the society and the business environment.
Thank you, Saikat. I think I'm going to kind of round off the discussions now. I'm going to start with Ishwar, who was cut off last time, right? If each of you could kind of highlight 2 of your biggest learnings from the year gone by. Yeah. So let's start with you, Ishwar.
Yeah. So one is digital ecosystem is a must-have. That is one. Number 2, creating customer experience is going to get more difficult, and personalized transactions are going to be a lot less. So branding is going to be a big challenge as we go by. So in my opinion, these are the 2 big learnings.
Great. Raj, do you want to talk about your two key learnings?
Yeah, I would just put it this way. I mean, my learning is, purpose is bigger than the push. We always believed in push culture. My learning is when we coined the thing as food soldiers, it just worked magical for us. So I think as Indians, one have to realize that we don't walk from here, we walk 1.5 feet down here. So we need to be very clear how we can touch, whether through care or empathy, that's one. The second one is unrelated. It's not customer, but one event did happen in India which kind of shook everybody, and we talked about law. We always talked about IQ, SQ, EQ, But I think what we didn't learn and we didn't prepare was AQ, which is adversity quotient. Sushant Singh Rajput, 9.8 million followers, was lonely. So it's very important to keep telling us and be connected so that all is well. It's all going well. We need to be, reaching out to each other and being there for each other. I think it's a very different learning, unrelated professionally, but I think that's also very important to know where people are coming from and reach out more. That's what I'll put it.
Thank you. Thank you. So AQ is another huge thing we all need to keep in mind. That's a really nice one. Joey, do you want to add to that? Your two learnings?
Yes, two key learnings, I think, and they play very nicely to what Raj was just sharing. Number one, leaders are responsible to keep regular tabs on the mental and emotional well-being of their teams. I think historically we've said, well, that's personal and this is business. Those barriers are gone forever now. We need to recognize that as employers, as managers, as leaders, we have a responsibility to check in on our people on a regular basis on their mental and emotional well-being and health. Secondarily, empathy matters. It matters more today than it ever has in human history. There's some fascinating research out of the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine here in the United States, where when a doctor shows empathy towards a patient who has a cold, they get over the cold one day faster than patients who don't experience empathy. And I think there's a lesson for all of us there that when we show empathy, not only does it make our physical well-being better, it makes our emotional well-being too. And I think brands have an opportunity to lead with empathy first before leading with solutions and change the conversation as a result.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I'm going to bring in Satish with your two learnings.
I think some of it is covered what Joey and Raj said. I think one aspect of it, while being empathetic to employees, I think customers are taken care. And my own personal learning is constant communication with the employee ecosystem really helps, right? Check-in. I think not just about the work, but even casual chats or let's say with individuals or groups really helps, right? In a very let's say online world where you don't get opportunity to meet them day in day from. So that is one. And second is, I think being flexible about the approach to business. I think one is my personal learning in terms of while one is the pandemic hit at a point in time. Now the evolution is not same, right? It takes in different forms and shape as you move. Now, how flexible you are, you cannot just go with a business plan for a year. You need to have a plan for next 2 or 3 months, then be flexible in your approach to keep changing things versus having to write it down and then say this is what is going to be for the next, let's say, year or so. So that has been, being flexible is one of the biggest learnings for me personally.
Thank you. Yeah. I think every brand has got to realize that the importance of flexibility is no longer about annual plans. It's about what are you doing in the next month. Yeah. Saikat, your learnings?
Yeah, I think I have the couple of points what I noted. I mean, it's almost like said, but I still want to repeat because that will reinforce our common thought. So, which is like we want to pay attention to our employee feedback in an extreme manner, because what we have experienced that crisis is actually forced, the commonality of purpose for all of us. I think so. That's the key learning. Second thing is that as we have now gone digital, and what we have understood that digital inclusivity has happened, but somewhere I think that experience of trust has to happen in terms of protecting customer data. And more we go digital, I think that is the expectation what is coming from the customers. They have been talking a lot about it. So protecting customer data is something where all the brands, all the companies have to put maximum effort on. I think these two are the main learnings.
Thank you, Saikat. So actually, all of you have so brilliantly summarized this whole discussion, and I could see a kind of common thread that's running across all what we spoke about, right? I started off the session saying I'm going to take notes, but I was so busy listening, I didn't take any notes at all. But, so if I were to just kind of put it in a couple of sentences and then we'll wind up this session. Yeah. I think, whenever I follow a lot of Simon Sinek, actually, and this whole thing of the why, the question of why, right? So the brand must have a purpose. Why? and then, how are you doing, or how are you delivering the why, and then you come to the what. Finally, what are you selling, right? So the core is always the why. And I think a common thread running across all our conversations was this whole thing about the brand having a greater purpose, right? So this whole thing when Raj said that, you're food soldiers, sorry, right? So if you can deliver to the train, you can deliver to the car. You're not about delivering the pizza, you're about delivering food, right? And how it's so important to keep in mind what is the need for the customer, and actually tailor make yourself to it. How important it is to be flexible. And one of the elements of being flexible is you better damn well go digital if you have to, right? If not digital, then you're not going to be alive next time, right? And this whole thing of, if you have to deliver that to the end customer, this whole purpose, the care that we talked about, your employees have to be charged up as well. And so taking care of your employees is also another critical part that we talked about. So I think this was essentially the thread of this conversation. Thank you so much for all your inputs. It's been most enlightening.
I'm going on.
So I think, we can wind up here. I hope our viewers had a good time listening to you and all your experiences about the various brands. Yeah.
Thank you, Mala, for being an excellent moderator as well, and lovely panelist as well. Lot to learn.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all of you.
Thank you, Mala.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.